And now we're moving on to something very interesting.
Huh.
How nerdy is your state? Tristan, you didn't see me. I put on the glasses as soon as I said that last statement.
Good job.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, how nerdy is your state? New report ranks America's geekiest states. That's the actual title of the article. I posted in the description box below if you don't know, so you guys can check it out yourself. So these analysts at All Home Connections, they basically use their own like some kind of stat test that they developed themselves, and they were analyzing a bunch of data to try to see which state is, the article calls it a nerd heaven, but of course, just what is the geekiest, right? That's the actual, terms used with the article itself, with the study itself. Now, I think it's a little bit flawed before we get to the actual issues that I have. It's not just because my state isn't in the top 20. It isn't biased at all. But we'll talk about this in a second, because let me explain. Okay, so apparently analysts looked at three key factors in each state. Geeky interest rank, nerd retailer rank, and high-speed internet rank. They then combined each score with weighted metrics, and then they, apparently using those, they created quote-unquote nerd rankings. And the geeky interest rank was determined by how often certain key phrases were searched into Google by location, what qualifies as a geek-centered search, and apparently all home connections. They looked at searches for things like Star Trek, Star Wars, Harry Potter, cosplay, anime, Lord of the Rings, Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, Game of Thrones, and Warhammer 40,000. Or 40,000 K? That's what the actual... Because I've seen it.
Yeah, 40K.
40K.
Like, I hear people call it 40K.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, 40K. So, and then the analysts looked at which states were most friendly to fandom and collectors by finding the number of pop culture conventions, comic book stores, video game retailers, and tabletop game stores per capita. The last and lowest weighted metric was the percentage of households with high-speed internet. Okay, so what ended up happening was, so apparently, which areas were the most anime-centric? Apparently, despite being lower on the overall nerdy scale, the South and Midwest states have some serious anime fans, and apparently, anime was the top searched fandom in Kansas, Arkansas, Alabama, Louisiana, Georgia, South Carolina, and Mississippi. And of course, California was there as well. Which states have the most nerd-friendly retailer access? Well, for that, you have to look at the Northeast, which you look at New Hampshire, which apparently the geeky state overall, and is also the first in the retailer ranking. Massachusetts is second, and Connecticut is third. Apparently, the top 20 geekiest states to live in are 1. New Hampshire, 2. Vermont, 3. Maine, 4. Alaska, 5. Montana, 6. North Dakota, 7th. Rhode Island, 8. Washington, 9. Wyoming, 10. Idaho, 11. Nevada, 12. Utah, 13. Ohio, 14. Connecticut, 15. Oregon, 16. West Virginia, 17. Delaware, 18. Hawaii, 19. New Mexico, and 20. Kentucky. Now I want to mention that New York is not on this list, so I am poo-pooing it. No, no, this list is wrong, and so it's All Home Connections. No,
New York, stop trying to act cool. We know you like anime and manga.
Yeah, right. That's all it is. Just New York, New York's like weeb. What is a weeb? It's just like a weeb is you, actually.
Like slamming the closet door, trying to keep the manga from falling out.
Yes. And so Alaska is number 1 in geeky interest rank. Residents are looking up their fandom interests more than anywhere else, despite lower access to events and retailers and high-speed internet.
Yeah.
I know about the high-speed internet thing because apparently there still is a Blockbuster in Alaska.
Well,
because how can you have Netflix in a place that doesn't have... Yeah.
I understand.
I know, but it hit you hard, didn't it? You were like, what the... Yeah, we have to go to Alaska sometime.
I'm kind of glad to know in my heart that it still exists somewhere.
Yeah, right? It's in my heart, and also in Alaska. So looking at some other stats here, for instance, a lot of people in... because basically it was talking about, like, the article then kind of transitioned to like, oh, people who want to open up maybe a certain retailer store in a certain area, they could look at these stats and potentially, see certain investments and stuff like that. So apparently, so it says here, for instance, there's a lot of people in Utah searching their geek interests, but the state is sorely lacking retailers and or fan events for its population. Because geek interest was at number 2 for that. However, in Utah, the fan events and retailers, that's at number 39. Washington State has a similar problem, 38 in retailers versus number 4 in geek interest. Meanwhile, California is home to some of the biggest nerd events each year, from Anime Expo to San Diego Comic-Con, but it only ranked number 40 on the list overall, and number 47 in nerd retailers, and number 32 in geeky interests. So, Tristan, before I go on, because I've been talking and reading all this, before I go on and talk about why I think some of this is wrong, or some of this could be misinterpreted, in my opinion, and granted, I'm not the one looking at all of the data, I'm not an analyst here, I'm really not good at the maths, but I'll explain why some of this might be a little bit faulty. Before I do, though, why do you think, unless you think it's all in the clear, because I know you were shocked as well when reading this, I'm sure a lot of our viewers right now are shocked in the fact that I read it, what do you think might be wrong, potentially in their methodology, or just in general how they went about the study? Because I think there were some things wrong. Do you think there's anything wrong with it?
Yeah.
Or what could be wrong? I know to you it just generally seems like something is wrong, but like, do you see anything wrong? Because I don't want to just rant about it completely and then leave you out in the cold.
I feel like having like anime and cosplay just being those two key use. I'm sure they used other key phrases too, but like it feels a little like manga's not in there either. And it feels a little like it's a broad keyword.
Right.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah. My problem is this, Tristan. So, I have to ask you a personal question. And I know this is going to be super anecdotal because I'm just asking you. You're literally one freaking person in New York. As am I. One single person. Do you look up different anime on a daily basis, or do you know what you like and you try to find it? Because here's the problem, in my opinion, with this. Are you searching up Star Wars on a daily basis, or are you watching it on TNT? Oh, well. That's what I'm saying. Which are you doing? Are you, if you go to, like, okay, do they have access to Steam? What do I mean by that? You have Star Wars games on Steam. So you go to, now you don't have to go on Steam's website. You just have Steam downloaded on your computer. So you interact with your nerdy self all day long, but no one can, like, they can't see you playing your NES Classic Edition.
Right, true.
They can't see you watching.
Or can they?
Dun, dun, dun. All home connections. They're in your home. So you sound shit like they really were.
They're coming through the window, man. They know. They know too much.
They have all your geeky data. Now they know how to get into your geeky home. No,
my browser. Wait.
I have no problem with all home connections. I'm sure their numbers are reliable. The problem is that you can interpret data in many different ways. Right. So my whole thing is that we were talking about Yu Yu Hakusho before with the new OVAs, in a different article that we talked about, right? When we talked about that, you talked about having the DVDs. So you don't need to search up info about Yu Yu Hakusho if you want to go watch a DVD. You own it. So I'm not going to say something like, oh, everyone in New York. Because, obviously I can't do that, right? But, because that's just dumb. I don't have the data in front of me. But do they have access to when people just search up Crunchyroll? Because if you're just looking at Crunchyroll, and then you want to watch Super on Crunchyroll because you want to just relive the memories of last week, even though we're recording this way after Super finished, but still, if you're like, you know what, I want to see some stuff from that Future Trunks arc, they're not going to show you typing in Dragon Ball Z Future Trunks arc Crunchyroll. You're just going to go to the website. If you want to see what Netflix has to offer in terms of their anime, we were talking about that with the Case Closed stuff, with Funimation dropping that, which we talked about that, in a different article. You're going to search up Netflix. You're not going to search up Netflix and then the name of the show.
Yeah.
So this, to me, is just showing people searching up key terms, of course. And besides, you'd see me searching up those terms as well if I'm trying to learn some new stuff about, like, the Star Trek pilots. Because, myself and Anthony Toto, we did a first episode of Star Trek Thursdays, where he and I talked about... it's also on this YouTube channel as well, where he and I talked about the Star Trek pilots for TOS, the original series, with Kirk and, and Pike and everything like that. So we talked about... So, yes, I had to search up Star Trek. True. But if I knew that they were on Netflix, I could just go on Netflix and then search up Star Trek. And that's not me being less nerdy or doing less nerd searches. Because I still am. They're just on websites that they can't track. Because I'm sure they're using, I would imagine, they're using Google searches, not searches on... I mean, literally it said... I don't know. I don't know why I said maybe. Literally, it said the phrase, certain key phrases were searched into Google by location.
Right.
That data, to me, I mean, this is a fun article, and it's fun for us to talk and speculate, but I don't think it's enough, because the article then says, hey, if you want to have a business venture, I would not.
Right.
I would in no way look at it. I would in no way. Because that's another thing, too, by the way, as well. If you say, hey... more of a state's population is nerdier than New York, I'd be like, okay, how big is their population, though? What I mean is that, obviously I'm super hyperbole, super exaggeration. If there is a state with 5 people in it, and 4 of them are anime fans...
Oh my god.
Well, Tristan... More than half the state are fans of anime. You see where I'm coming. You see where I'm coming.
Yes,
super hyperbole. Hyperbole super. Hyperbole Z. The hyperbole time chamber.
Oh my god.
But it really is hyperbole, and I totally get that, right? What I'm trying to get at, though, here is that New York is such a large state. There's so many people in the state that you can still have millions of fans of something without... it being a large percentage. And again, they might know what they like. So it's, I don't know, it's a bit of a, again, it's nice fun. I love it from a fun perspective, but it's a bit hard to then say, oh, we should have maybe more cons in this area. Because for all you know, a state, it's hard for someone to drive to where they are from the con. Also, again, just because a certain percentage of a state doesn't mean that they actually want to go pay money to do something, right? To go to one of these events, to pay for this merchandise. Also, I mean, despite all the issues with Amazon exists. So for all we know, people are going on Amazon, searching up their nerdy interests there and buying them there. So you don't need to have a retailer in that area because they would immediately be outpriced by Amazon.
Right.
So it's a little rough, in my opinion, to go into that angle. So that totally was not a cut. But we're back. Anyway, so I just want to hear what your take on it is, Tristan. I feel like I've dominated most of this conversation. It's just, I don't know. I feel like I'm not trying to say that they're wrong necessarily, because I get where they got their data from.
Right. No, it's all good fun.
It's a what?
It's all in good fun.
Yeah, it's all in good fun. I just don't think anyone should...
It feels like... Yeah, it feels like there's a lot more... Like, there are more sources that they could look to for data.
We were actually, funnily, we were bringing it up earlier. We were talking about the list of manga sales, where there's, where BookScan was looking towards... now getting sales from Diamond publishers, because Diamond publishers working with comic book stores. So there's a lot of comic book stores that maybe they're not getting their manga, even though they're selling a lot of manga. BookScan doesn't know about those sales, so some of these numbers can be inaccurate. Some higher, lower, well, not lower because they're still selling something, but like a lot higher or something like that. So these numbers can potentially be inaccurate. In this case, I think not having Amazon, Netflix, any other nerdy site that people are clearly getting their nerd on, it's frustrating because I think you were saying this. I don't know if you said it on the podcast or maybe while we were in our small break there. If you mentioned the fact that these searches are showing interest, it doesn't mean that they're showing interest in the product itself. In other words, someone might go, "Huh. What year was Star Trek created again?" Google
Yeah.
Star Trek, go, oh, okay, never watch it afterwards.
Right.
So should we take that person into account into opening up a nerd store where we have Star Trek merchandise? All
Right.
that person who did that Google search wanted to know was, when was Star Trek made again? And that was it.
Yeah.
Unless, I will admit though, if anyone wants to take this article and be like, I should start, something in a certain location. I would admit though that, if you want to open up a nerd store or some kind of geek store or something like that in a place that has very little internet, I think
Right.
that's actually worth it, because why would they go to Amazon or Netflix? They need those physical releases, right? So in a place like Alaska, yeah, I would open up an anime store in Alaska, sure. But I do think others that, how dare you? How fucking dare you? They deserve that anime store.
No,
They're
I'm not
freezing.
saying they don't.
They are
definitely
freezing.
Do. Oh my god.
They
man.
need hot-blooded anime.
I was laughing at the sense that it's just
it's us and Blockbuster. That's it.
Those you just have a business venture. We just you're like, all right, Tristan, we're packing up and moving to Alaska. What, Matt? No, get in the van.
You can do digging in Alaska.
No, I can't. It's frozen half the time.
Dig the other half.
You don't.
I know. I'm just saying that I think that it's a little flawed, because again, there's people who probably know what they like, what they want, and also, by the way, something that I didn't think about till like right this second. There are people. Okay, so Tristan, have you ever gone out of state for a con, for a convention?
Personally, no.
We know people. We know people who have though.
Oh yes, definitely. I've had plenty of friends go to like PAX and stuff.
Yeah,
like that,
PAX.
so.
San Diego Comic-Con, stuff like that.
Yep.
Do we really think that if there was a con in someone's local area, they would then go, oh boy, I guess I get to save money and not go to San Diego Comic-Con. Sure, I don't get to see the entire cast of The Walking Dead, but at least I get to see someone from a zombie film that had 5 people who watched it in 1987, which, by the way, probably a good film, probably would want it on VHS, not gonna lie. I'm just saying,
Right.
Are the people doing these nerd searches, these geek searches,
Right.
are they going to be like, wow, why do I want to go to these major Comic-Cons? Why do I want to go to PAX? When I can just go to my local video game convention and get some shitty YouTubers that are named Those Guys Play. Why? That one stung, right?
Gonna be
that
like,
one stung.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, oh wow, he's really ripping into like let's like, and
us.
then
He's really ripping into us. But
and then I saw only too late.
But no, but seriously though, why would someone not want to go to PAX where they're bringing bigger YouTubers, maybe not the PewDiePies, but bigger YouTubers, than go to a local con? Like, I'm not saying there shouldn't be more local cons, and I'm not saying we shouldn't go to local cons, because we have before and we will again. But what I'm saying, guys, is that would someone choose the cast of The Walking Dead over us? Yes. That's kind of what they're paying that premium for. So you can't just have a local con and just be like, yeah, people come to us, It's like, no, if it's the same month as San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con, guess what?
Yeah.
Someone's getting on that flight.
Right.
So there's a bunch of things I think to think about, with a con ecosystem or just a general ecosystem in a certain area. Yes, there might be more nerd searches than there are, brick and mortar stores, or they're more conventions, right? But perhaps a lot of these nerds, quote unquote, that are doing these nerd searches, they're 15 years old. They get mommy and daddy to buy stuff off of Amazon for them. Maybe they have okay internet. Mommy and daddy, or maybe they, with some of their allowance money, buy stuff off of Amazon, and they wouldn't go to your con, or they wouldn't go to your brick and mortar store. They can't go to it. Maybe it's too far if they were to try to bike, but they can definitely get Amazon to bring them something, or they can go on Netflix. So there's a lot of different intricacies with this that I think, again, it's a nice, fun article, brings a smile to your face, gets you shocked to be like, whoa, this place is more nerdy than this place? That's insane. but that's all it is. You know, it's like
Right.
one of those news stories that you look up. You know, you're flipping channels and you just see out of nowhere. It's just like, tonight at 11, wine. Will it make you healthier? Find out more. And that's it. And then you go
Right.
on it, and then you find out more for 5 seconds. You're like, oh, that was interesting. And then you never think about it again.
Right.
Nothing wrong with the company that did the data, though. Just, I feel like nerd searches is a bit different from nerd purchases. You know, not that that makes you a true fan, but when you're talking about creating businesses in a local area,
Right.
you know, you need purchases to be shown, not
Yeah.
just Google searches.
You hit a nerve with Matt.
What? You hit a nerve? No.
Yeah.
No. Just because no one buys our merchandise? No. No, I don't buy our merchandise. Where did I get this shirt from?